afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Propagandacast with me, your host, Imperial Dane. We're off here to an exciting 2 versus 2 on rails and metals. Yes, indeed, 2 versus 2 in the southern corner of the map. We shall be watching Dichter dots, but I know what that stands for, and I don't think I want to know, versus Insaniedi. We'll just call him Insaniedi. And just leave it at that. Fighting here for the Soviet Union, for the glory of Comrade Stalin. Rushing ahead here for the 3rd Guards, Mechanized Corps, charging against the Germans here. Counter-attacking with Fahu and Stugosaurus for the Wehrmacht. For the 5th, and the Oberkommando West, for the 5th SS Panzerdivision Viking. Points are being secured rapidly here as they advance across a broader spectrum. Both sides, although it seems like the Russians are more focusing heavily towards the right-hand side of the field there and there. Commanders are shock rifle, guard motor, counter-attack tactics for Insanity. Dichter almost the same except with mechanized support. Fahu with breakthrough, fortifications, and scavenge. Finally, Stugosaurus with blitzkrieg, infantry, and Jaeger infantry. I don't think I've ever seen this combination before, and it's certainly been ages since I've seen either of those 3 commanders in the chosen. That was certainly also used. Gott im Himmel. I wonder what this could mean. Hopefully something interesting. Back here, though, we are seeing that Dichter is going in for the Maxim spam. That Maxim-loving fiend. Kugelwagen out here for Fahu. Volkers, they're opening up. Grenadiers moving up on the other side to support. Carnot TK's laying out there versus the most in the guns held here by some companies in the trench. Max is moving up here and all large engaged until this vital supply hub for the Germans. Transferring vital munitions and equipment to the front lines and such, and out of there and wounded back. Kugelwagen moving up the flank here, though. Major effort seems to be on the right flank. Minor efforts here from Stugosaurus on the left flank, wiring off the fuel there. Constantly moving into harass. Max is there to cover. Kugelwagen could try and rush past the Maxim's arc of fire set up right on the side there. A bit of a Kugel Blitz. If the driver could, that is, set up properly. But there we go. Counterattack overall man successfully pushed back here. The Maxims were without sufficient infantry. And in this case, Fahu's assault tactics were able to overcome his opponent. We do see us M3A1 arriving there, more Maxims, so there might be something there which could threaten the Kugelwagen. Infantry moving up and down the side. Over here, things are going a bit more mixed here for Insaniedi. Troops slowly advancing over there. Kugelwagen should consider out, and then interesting enough, the M3A1 should try to get as close as possible, though of course we do have some grenades that could turn things around with a quick Panzer fire attack, forcing the M3A1 back. Panzer's moving up on the flank there, Maxis moving in, others getting ready, and we do see mortars being added here on the minimap, some 82mm mortars. Left flank sees, well, the Contras are actually forced away there just barely. Comms moving in, they should be able to force away the guns when we gain territory there. Fahu setting up battle group headquarters right there. Panfast there on the M3A1, being nice, but down to the comments are ready to repair here for Dichter Max was still pressing forwards there, rather wall of men and machine guns. Not exactly what you'd call very tactically advanced, but it works, I suppose. But there you go, James Bush off the left side there, points being secured, the gunners could counter-attack through there, constantly to move, snipers adding in here again. It really seems like the Russians are pouring everything in here, which means that the Germans can sort of, well, do a decent defense. They should be able to hold, but over here they're getting pushed back. They lack sufficient firepower to hold back the Maxims with everything else there. It looks like they might then shift over to the left side there to then force off internally there, at least to keep that part of the map secure, at least that part of the fuel, though for a brief moment they might in fact have both fuel points. That of course is about to change. Volker's holding up here. Sturmpipes moving to flank. Left side there being secured by some swift movements combined there by Stugosaurus and Fahu. While in the mean, things are getting more and more shifted over to the right hand side. Oh, there are some slight counterattacks there from Insaniedi in that direction. Interesting enough, no one in this scout catcher will add some further fireposts. Flanking Sturmpioniere, quickly getting sniped, shot and gunned down. Not looking good there. Maxim's more moving up there. Creeping forwards. On the other hand, the left side, Insaniedi, is encountering some less than fun situations. Also, very early munitions cache there from Stugosaurus. I wonder what that could be about. Panzer up there for Fahu. Die Rakete in Panzerbüchse. And his men there getting sniped in the face. We noted a second sniper here, and there we go. Finding someone in the scout car. Kubelwagen in trouble here. But we do see a Panzerfaust going off there from the Grenadier. We could see the scout car go down here. And there we go. Countries could also be wiped out. It would be a bit of a blow there to Insaniedi early on. Over to Dichter, who continues his support weapon advance. No doctrine chosen by the way so far by any of the Soviet players. Pushing forward slowly here, Flamethrower Engineers encountering a small Grenadier force there from Stugosaurus, who so far in fact seems to be relying fully on infantry. 4 squads of them, no MGs, no mortars. You might want to consider that. It looks like he's in fact going in pretty aggressively. He's trying to sort of outmaneuver and out-harass his opponent, of course in part successful due to the high amount of support weapons and the lack of infantry. That doesn't to a certain extent force Russians to sort of pull it all together in one spot, but it also leaves them more vulnerable to harassment. So that could prove up to be quite interesting, in particular if they cut off here and in fact deny the Russians access to the fuel. Kubelwagen here going for a small raid there by Fahu, interesting. Grenadiers though forced away, encountered too much resistance. Snipers moving in, out! Now they could see a problem with the Stugosaurus plan there. The Grenadiers already depleted, Snipers catches them. There we go though. Still, the retreat path they're taking. Dichter, why are we running this way? I don't know any other. Down to 1 man, going to have to run front of the maximum. That could prove disastrous there for Stugosaurus, although they have managed to nonetheless cut off the resource. And there we go, squad wiped out. Not so good there. Shock troops arriving, so Insaniedi has chosen a commander. Quick look there, he has chosen counter-attack. We also note the Germans have chosen some of those. We'll have a look at those once we get around to them. Bunker up here, he's really intent on sort of fortifying the fuel point here, make it difficult for the Russians to take. Good to note there. Small defensive tactics. Breakthrough has been chosen by Fahu. Panzerfusiliers arrive. Panzerfusiliere. Looks like they're getting ready to sort of swing in from the left. They're not going to charge right into the Soviet lines. Good approach there. Some maneuvering there. It would seem then is the approach from the Germans. Good. And of course the Russians are probably going to be shifting things away from here towards there. In particular the Germans going to press further up here because they also probably realise they're actually quite vulnerable around here. So again, some very nice play there from the Germans. I mean, he tends to sort of for a lot of players just to be sort of head badgering in him. We actually saw Stugosaurus pull off something clever, which is good, which is great. Which is rather something I like to reward. Here though, I'm not a fan of what Fahu is doing, and that's basically just one blob he's pulling off there. Not something I want to reward or anyway congratulate. And there we go, we do see it getting punched here with Maxims and Shock Troopers. In fact, we could see the unit getting wiped out here since they have to drive past the Shock Troopers. And right there, I mean, that's a bit of a blunder. Oh, bugs up though, I mean, that's still, but yeah, no, this rather feels like a blunder. There we go, squad wiped out. Not really well handled there by Fahu. That was silly. He should not have blobbed up. He should have gone for a more spread out approach. Instead, he ended up wasting a lot of men senselessly and losing a Panzerschreck already this early into the game. Not good. Nice smoke grenade there from Insaniedi. Few guns maximum moving ahead. He should consider maybe an officer there, Mr. Fahu. Shock troops closing in, Grenadiers there. And looks like he's actually gone for ambush upgrades for his Grenadiers, which actually means, you know, once they get a ton, they actually get a slight damage bonus for a bit of while, or an accuracy bonus. So that's very interesting. Very interesting. Rarely seen, actually, which means he's actually gone for Jaeger infantry, which is extremely rare to see. That's fun. That's fun. I mean, we like to see rare stuff, or at least I do, because again, we tend to sort of reveal a slightly different thinking mind, which is... well, while not necessarily always good or bad, it's definitely different, and which also means there's a high chance of something good, or at least something you can sort of more explain beyond, you know, the standard rote stuff. There you go, the country making rush for the fuel point and getting encountering the MG42 bunker there. Not a good occurrence for them. Mortar could be shifting forward here to further support and advance, but seems like things are slightly bogging down here. Looks like the German counterattack at least managed to sort of throw the Russians a bit off, if nothing else. We're noting a mechanized regiment, second here for Fahu. They're not trading any resources yet. He could consider that. He could consider that.
Enemy forces are attempting to capture our territory.
Kubelwagen doing surprisingly well there. Efficiency 2, 11 kills. Not bad, not bad. Movement starts out here from the Volksgrenadier. Anti-tank grenadier. We could see Kubelwagen being lost here for Fahu. Can he do it? Can he do it? He needs support. Unterstützung. And there we go. Just barely in the time the Volksguards do finally break off. Cow getting hammered there by mortar fire. It was already dead though. And to Fahu here, 3 Volksguards Panzerfusiliers. No sign of us. We should consider getting that to support his troops. Kugelwagen pulled back for repairs. No resource trading. He got covered for a Puma. A flak half track or a Stugosaurus to somehow further support things from his side. Those are definitely options. 3rd truck there arriving. Well, we're now seeing plenty of Gewehr 43s there being handed out to Stugosaurus infantry, and he's gone straight for a heavy Panzer Corps. That's probably something you only really see in a 2 versus 2, but that's definitely still even a bit rare there. A bit risky in some regards, because he's also skipped the second tin between that, so in essence he's actually very vulnerable to armor, and he has to be very reliant on Fahu to do so, but Fahu himself is not exactly the most reliable since he's only got a Panzerweg. Now he's getting a Stugosaurus, so this is actually a bit of a strategic moment of weakness for the Germans. And it could very easily backfire on them if, say, the Russians decide to go for not the metagame, which of course is basically, again, waiting for late game on. But again, if they are going for that, and of course the Germans are hoping to exploit that, it could in fact work out. But again, have either Serb player right now been aiming for something like, say, a T-3476, things could have gotten a lot more ugly. And there goes Stugosaurus arriving here. One of many sort of vehicles basically strapped with some rockets on the side and used as rocket artillery, including the Hotchkiss light tank, Renault, carriers and such. Or just basically placed up as rockets on the ground themselves. We fight like that. Mortar fire continues raining down their field. Gun engineers pushing up their left flank. Sees a bit of action. There we go. Bit of a horde formation there from the Grenadiers. Spread out, spread out. Dangerous work there, Stugosaurus. Although again, the Grenadiers roll their gewehr for the finish, could certainly prove a bit potent. Volksguards are getting mowed down by the Maxim. And now again, he's sort of trying to again outmaneuver. I mean, Stugosaurus does seem to be sort of more of a fan of maneuvering, although again, spread out your men. Stugosaurus here, bombarding, clearing out the mortar. By the looks of Maxim retains some crewmen, although the Udums might be less so retained. Constance counter-flanking here on the Grenadier flank. Snipers could also find a bit of pressure there versus the infantry. From the right angles though. Wrong angle, could result in death. Consoles there getting mowed down, and we do see some grenades falling back here due to sniper pressure. Insaniedi here under a bit of pressure, but also applying some decent pressure there as more forces move in. The sniper, of course, continues to sort of drain away and cause attrition to the forces of Stugosaurus. Fahu making some progress, at least attempting to, with reasonable success so far. The question is, how long will this last? More Grenadiers we get for the feast. Looks like he's training more Grenadiers. Awfully relying on them though, awfully much. Mine went off there. An additional Panzerfusilier here arriving to add sort of the infantry firepower. He could consider upgrading some of them Gewehr for the phrase to, well, that way, make them more lethal and intimidating. The Russians sort of more a bit on the defensive now. Again, their lack of infantry is actually somewhat hurting them and somewhat showing. And it is causing them to be a bit less reactive. Oh, we do actually now see some tank battalion come on the way. They might have realised slightly the error of their ways and might be trying to sort of turn around. But already now they might be struggling a bit here. And by this point, the Germans might sort of be able to actually react to that. He's getting a Panzerwerfer. Not necessarily what I recommend after rushing for the heavy Panzer Corps, at least not first, but looks like the Germans are going to be throwing a ton of rockets at their opponents. Right flank seeing a bit of action, still no resource trading there from Fahu. Very interesting, most players would immediately begin trading fuel, but Fahu seems to be of a different mind and opinion. There we go, building collapse, looks like they had somewhat evacuated it. A bit hard to say. There's a bunch of men sort of dead all over the place. It's a bit hard to tell who was inside and outside. Left flank, they're reasonably quiet now. No attempt more from the Germans sort of push through. They're sort of slightly counter-attack here from Fahu, drawing away against forces. And looks like, I'm guessing, aerial reconnaissance, and I don't think either of them got something that can sort of shoot. Certainly not this early into the match. There you go, Conscripts getting absolutely shredded here by the Grenadiers. You got the first tank here arriving, a T-34 from 6, and we see counter-attack, by the way, if I haven't already mentioned that. B4 Stalin Sledgehammer setting up. This is definitely going to hurt. Snipers on the hand running to prompts of the Grenadiers. He could use tactical movement right now to sort of further speed up their movement to actually allow them to hunt down the snipers, though at the same time, of course, he could run into, well, nasty things here, like, say, shock troopers. Now shielding the snipers a bit there. T-34 though arriving, a bit of armor there arriving to counter-attack the fascists. We do see a bit of first strike bonus there. Panzerfaust going off, more rockets going off, but this time though from the Panzerwerfer, those striking absolutely bugger all. Over to Stugosaurus with 5 Grenadier squads and a single Panzerwerfer. Again, not what I'd necessarily recommended initially. A Panther, at the very least, if you wanted something else than the Panther, Sturmpanzer 4 might have worked better, but too late for that now. Grenadiers might be able to catch the snipers in retreat. Ooh, there we go, sniping the there for Insaniedi. That's going to hurt. Well, it would hurt if, you know, they could feel pain when dead. Left flank, there's beginning to be a bit of trouble that will force the Germans sort of reinforce it over there. Good, good. From the Russians there, sort of trying to divert attention the same way the Germans trying to do that. Otherwise, most of the effort is still here on the right flank. More T-34s are running for Dichter Hund. More T-34s. Panzerfaust going off there, or an anti-tank rocket grenade, or rifle grenade more likely, since, well, no Grenadiers nearby. T-34 with the rear exposed to the Panzerx not helping. T-34 on the way, making things even more difficult. Not sufficient counter-fire there to sort of stop the Fox Grenadiers. We do see tactical movement, actually. We do see tactical movement, quickly allowing him to react to the movements over here, sprinting across his forces there. A nice way to sort of, you know, quickly relocate a force from one part of the map to the other. Good job there from Stugosaurus. T-34's getting away, albeit barely. Maxim holding up the trench, they're not in quite the right position. But very interesting to see someone actually using Jaeger Infantry. So far, he's actually using, well, large parts of it. Ambush, camouflage, Gewehr for the freeze, and, well, tactical movement. Oh. That's a weird name.
The enemy is taking our territory.
Light artillery barrage available as well, if he so needs it. And again, he's actually doing quite a bit of damage to the conscripts, cutting them down. And the Panzerwerfer fires again. And, well, blows up some trees, but that's not really something you want to report to High Command. Mein Führer, we have blown up some trees! Ja, und? The T-34 being repaired now. The Soviets actually the ones with the armor advantage, essentially. The Germans rather, well, lacking in that. Though, of course, soon Stugosaurus could change that, and I think something crashed. Oh, there we go. A Sturmovik went down. Shock troops already veteran to 3 there, making them much more dangerous to contend with if they get close. Shock troops there taking heavy fire. And a Maxim sniper joining in from the south. Good, good. The Soviets though still need something to pick up the pace again. And each and every again we're noting here that Insaniedi's not really getting much. Oh, wait, what is this? KV-1's arriving. Soviet heavy armor. Well, somewhat heavier. And B4's also doing some damage. So far, Veterans 1, a good shot around here. In fact, could cause quite a bit of harm. But we do also now see that Stugosaurus is getting a Panzerkampfwagen 5. And we do note some Panzers upgrade Gewehr for the freeze. Tactical movement again. My God. It's almost like, you know, he understands how to use a doctrine. Intriguing. Light artillery barrage going down on the Maxim. But it sprints itself. What is this madness? Stuff is oh, but not soon enough. And the light Infanterie swipes it out. KV-1 moving about there. Fahu, though, interesting enough, a bit passive at the moment. Except for Stugosaurus, who's not really doing much sort of further movement. And another B4 shot, though, flies a bit into, well, the middle of nowhere.
Panther ready.
There you go. Panzerkampfwagen 5 mobilized und gefechtsbereit. Noting guards troops here for Dichter Hund. Considering the doctrines out, I do believe that might mean mechanized support. Yes, indeed. In fact, he's got bulletins for it there with the beast killer. Zero boy. Got over here to Insaniedi. The assault continues here through the center. Then it is marching up. T-34s were almost ready to sort of launch an assault up the flank, but seem to pull back. Stugosaurus moving up, Kuwag moving up. Infantry slowly sneaking in. Panther getting ready to push through the center here. Needs to be a bit careful with that though. Meanwhile, Western efforts here from Sandy are doing what they can. K1 ready to support, but so far not actually joining in the fight. Another tactical move there from Stugosaurus. Wonderful, wonderful. Foskers trying through the center here. Getting under fire from Maxims and T-34s. A Kenmare for joining in. We could see the Grenadier down front. Stugosaurus go down. That would be terrible. K1 still not doing much. Insaniedi needs to be a bit more aggressive up the left flank. I mean, the K1 could clearly that will open up the right flank here. Artillery going down, wiping out the Maxim. T-34 still not doing much.
The enemy has killed another infantry squad.
Units getting wiped out there. Panther making a quick shot. No Pindermine machine on that. Another K1 available here for Insaniedi to sow fancies. So he gets more shock troops. The Russians seem awfully passive all of a sudden here. In particular with their armor. I mean, they got plenty more armor than their opponents. You can at least, use one tank to keep the Panther occupied, with the rest of the tanks basically do damage elsewhere. But so far, nothing's really happened. I think we've got another shot there from the B4. Still not a hit there, though. Had a bit of a hard time there. More grenades there. Does very little to the shock troopers. K1 falls back, it seems, almost. Both sides seem a bit awfully cautious here. Oh, it looks like finally the K1 might be moving into the action. Opening up there with its 76mm gun. Same as the T-34. Later on, a variant would be made with a different turret and a bigger gun, the KV-85.
We are losing supplies to the enemy.
Ooh, Panther moves in there, opening up with the KV-1. Misses though. Not good there. Second shot, they go through the armor. Panzerwerfer arriving. And now we got the T-34s going towards the west to sort of turn things around there. B4 finally hits something and wipes out the entire Panzer Fusilier unit. Panzerwerfer fires another futile barrage. It's not really like Stugosaurus getting much out of that, which is a bit of a shame. Grenadiers continue to advance. Noting by the way, Dichter is loading an awful lot of resources. He's gone for mechanized support. It would certainly be sensible to he might be aiming for an IS-2 then. Panther moving straight into line. Grenadiers take a nasty there. I think the K1 got the entire unit there. Everything pulls back. They don't try to attack it or outmaneuver the Panther. I mean, if the K1 was to occupy the Panther from front, the T-34 could have flanked it and will knock it out, I think. But a bit of a miss there. And alternating now 3 munitions caches, by the way, here for Stugosaurus. I wonder what he could be thinking. But probably nothing good, though, for the Russians. T-34 charging in, but coming under heavy fire there. Other T-34s not really needed to support and provide further aid. Insaniedi is slowing down once more, getting more snipers. I think the T-34 is having a rather bad day there. Despite being point blank, for some reason could not hit the Raketenwerfer. And we are seeing a Jagdtiger here from Fahu. They must sense there's an issue on the way. Otherwise, I mean, considering the opponent's arm, I think a Jagdtiger is a bit, well, overkill. And I think going for Schwerpanzer at quarters and then Panthers would have been a better choice. More again there for shots here. Over to Dichter. Half a command point or so away from the IS-2. Or the ISU-152, having lost one T-34. He's got a bit of guards infantry, some weapons here. Could easily be recruited and turn against their fascist opponents again. Yaktil rolls forwards, placed on the same chassis as the King Tiger. Its 12.8 millimeter gun was also more or less, well, centimeter gun was more or less, well, I think, naval artillery gauge. Fun fact there. Another bit of air recon there. He's very fond of it. Very fond of it. Sort of coordinate here with the B4. Not bad. Panther and Yakti are slightly turning around there. Sturmpanzer 4 now from Stugosaurus. And a direct hit there on both, almost knocking out the Sturmpanzer 4 and taking the Yaktig almost down to half health and giving the B4 howitzer from Veterancy 1 to Veterancy 3. Got him. Looks like Stugosaurus might be setting up for some assault on the left flank, although it's rather been delayed there due to the heavy damage inflicted upon his Sturmpanzer 4. 30 kills, Veterancy 3 there for the sniper. Bit of harassment up here. We got this scout car still operational, by the way, the Kuhwagen closing in there in Veterancy 3 soon, which would mean self-repairs. But the Soviet advance does seem to have stalled rather heavily. Again, the lack of infantry is, well, proving to be a bit against them. And the way here that Dichter is floating a ton of resources, he's really mind-bogglingly set there on the ISU-152, rather ignoring the positive, just getting some infantry, at least 8 things for the time being. Which is overall giving the Germans more time to drain their victory points as well. I mean, you could easily just recruit some weaponry there. That would do them some good. But sadly, it does not seem to be the case or in their interest. For, well, whatever reasons. The Jagdtiger is still being repaired. Sturmpanzer 4 is ready here for Stugosaurus to join the fight. You should probably get it moving. I imagine soon that B4 will strike once more. Now more lethal than ever thanks to Veterancy 3. And save over the reconnaissance aircraft was to spot the B4 on the, well, the Jagdtiger and the B4 was to fire again. That could prove very fatal. The Jagdtiger crew, and there you go, ISU-152 available. Also bombing strikes available. Come on, make use of those resources, damn it. Alternating fuel caches to cover the battle cut-offs. At least they bought some then. And what's this? A AT strafing run. The Kanonenvogel is loose. B4 fires as well. Did he just shoot the B4 at the Kugelwagen? I don't think there's a better way of describing overkill than that. Comrades, we must destroy that tiny car. Comrade Stalin wills it. Are you sure, Dimitri? Should we not be shooting at the Jagdtiger? The Kugelwagen. Kugelwagen. One further pushing up to the left flank. Another shots there from the B4. Not entirely sure what he was aiming at. Assault up the right flank here. Volksgrens are getting shot down. Raketenwerfer not having much luck either. ISU firing in there. Panther taking heavy fire, force back here with field guns and KV-1. In fact, 2 K1s out here ready to absorb shots. Infantry advancing here. B4 blast, or ISU actually blasting away. Wiping a full grenadier escort right there. Leaving Stugosaurus short on infantry. Noting by the way, no mid-game analysis this game along. And there we go. Kanonenvogel get some shots there. Lots of rockets as well. The battlefield is lit up here. As now both armies are going into full swing here. ISU-152 falls back here under the dominance of the Luftwaffe. Smoke going down. Looks like a break for assault here was initiated. Obfuscating everything, allowing the Germans to close in and get some territory. Good job. They're actually using the smoke part of the assault as well. That's very rare. Most players just tend to use it for the artillery strike. Gunners get caught by the 2 KV-1s. The German army is a bit of a terrible situation. There's only the Jagdtiger, and the Jagdtiger is lacking something to spot for it, with overall limited utility. And it's certainly there. One might argue Panthers might have served better, but oh well. Panther back to repair. Sturmpanzer so far has only killed one poor soul. Popping out to Fahu. Part of me definitely feeling you should set up a schwerer Panzer at quarters, maybe to set up more security around the fuel point. Another further assault here. The Panzer position, while they've been wiped out, he's just down to full because he's just spamming them. A bit limited there. Still think you should get a Sturm office here. Assault up the left flank here by Stugosaurus, and looks like another appearance by the Luftwaffe. No, light artillery. He's all beginning to run out of munitions, but again, thanks to all the munitions catches he's hit down, he can actually reasonably quickly get at least some of it back. Be ready to sort of strike again from above. B4 fires also. Now the Russians with, well, veterans of 3B4, the ISU and several K1s are now sort of more dominant in this fight. Yeah, Tiger ready. Sturmpanzer, he's, note by the way, he's pulling that as far away as possible. He's extremely paranoid about the B4 firing and maybe knocking out a unit because he could probably do that at veterans free. And he's got the range to cover almost the entire map, so I mean, it's not exactly insensible what he's doing there. Schwerpanzer got setting up here, but not covered or anything. Now that's a... I feel like that could have been executed a bit better. He should probably left it up here. But I suppose we're all trying to cover the victory point, but again, he wasn't supporting it properly, so in that regard, didn't end up well there, and the ISU could have probably knocked out quickly as well. Jagdtiger, though, is here nearby, getting off a shot maybe. Units wiped out, their building collapsed. Jagdtiger took another B4, and this time it's almost knocked out. Looks like they're buttoning it and calling it a bombing strike. The Soviet Air Force is going in. Can they get the Jagdtiger before it even gets a single proper hit in? Jagdtiger barely escapes the wrath of the Soviet Air Force. Once more, the Jagdtiger is forced back here. ISU gets another unit wiped out, another Panzerschreck left behind for the Russians to pick off. We see here a desperate counterattack from Stugosaurus. Tactical movements, urging his men forwards for the Reich. Only to almost get wiped out there. Panther moving in. Jagdtiger needs support. Gets off a shot, then the KV-1 damaged engine. Panzerschreck secured there by the Communist Panther falling back. K1 quickly not. There we go. Jagdtiger got off another hit. Panther taking heavy damage. Shot bounced off. Not sure what the B4 was supposed to hit there. Shock troopers with Panzerschrecks as well. Panzerwerfer could provide a bit of support there maybe. And the Jagdtiger is almost ready. Sturmpanzer joining in. 5th SS though has been pushed back rather heavily here. Panther almost down. And there you go, got the Jagdtiger struggling forwards under its massive weight. There we go, ISU finally being forced back. Veterans who won there for the Jagdtiger. Panther almost down to the Stormtroopers. Panzerschreck. Barely any territory left. Their victory points quickly strung down. Panzerfuzzers have been forced forwards, and Dichter still floating a ton of resources. I really want to slap him. Particularly considering he could easily have a lot more out on the field. Infantry, troops, something. I mean, even another ISU could be out right now. And in fact, he called to number even 1,200 manpower. Not good. Come on, Dichter. Get more resources. Well, now he's almost a full pop cap, but you know, get down some fuel caches. Maybe something to help your teammate a bit more as well, or munitions caches either way.
Crew, get ready. Forward elements report and infantry unit lost.
Another shot there, K1 moving forwards. Infantry keep getting lost here for Fahu. Though he still seems very reluctant to get the office there. ISU fires, misses. Though with the second one on the way there, things can certainly get more desperate and dangerous. B4 here continues to be an absolute menace.
Standing by for setting of command post.
Stugosaurus joining in. And what is this? A half-track with Panzer Grenadiers. I think he made a rush here for it. But his Panzer Grenadiers are about to get killed. And he calls in an artillery barrage. Liked his Infanteriegeschütz. He sacrificed his men there in a rather desperate gambit to knock it out. Will it pay off? At least the veterans he got wiped. Can he get the gun as well? There we go. Rather expensive. In the end, he was able to remove one terror from his sight. A veteran 3 B4. 2 Panthers now here for Stugosaurus. More armor arriving on the field. K1's getting further ready. Mine's going down here. They're getting absolutely paranoid as well about rushes towards the B4. Sending up another one immediately after the first one in the exact same spot almost. This could end badly for the Panther if they hit the minefield. And that was also one thing where the German counterattacks during the late stages of war tend to run into problems. That was the quickly erected minefields of the Soviets, which rather had a tendency of bugging things down. There you go. Panther there, already in trouble. ISU's moving in. Still one Panther going. Trying to get their K1 constant flanking in. Shots going through there. Grenade failed to penetrate. Jagdtigers rose forward like an overweight giant. But makes a mistake here. He must maybe not aware of 2 ISUs, and both of them are dazing or stunning it, meaning the Jagdtigers constantly sort of unable to shoot. And now it's getting buttoned as well. And now he's just trying to get out of there. Without sufficient support versus ISUs, it's in a very bad state. Panthers are not really able to help either. Sturmpanzer, certainly not. Another B4 shot there. Units getting wiped out. The losses continue to escalate. Shock troopers wiped out. The Panther could it maybe try to flank and buy some time for the Jagdtiger, but that's about it. The Jagdtiger seems not trying to shoot back despite having the range to do. Oh, there we go. One shot going in. Panther probably should try to flank. But something I know. Jagdtiger there close to getting wiped out. Veteran G2. And Jagdtiger kaput. Munitions cooked off. Panther, there we go, flanking in, blitzkrieging in, finding some offensive blitzkrieg there. Field gunner firing away. Panther will need to pull back. There we go, protecting the frontal armor towards the field gun. Not worried about the ISUs. There we go, strike from the Sturmpanzers as well. Good shooting, Günther. Panther though might get hit by an anti-tank grenade. There we go. One ISU down. A brave counterattack there by Stugosaurus. And the Sturmpanzer stunning the ISU to get a bit of time there to get out of there.
Ready for action.
Brutal armor fighting here in the centre. By the way, Stugosaurus got caught up. We'll try and miss the time there. German forces that are desperately bled for infantry. There's mostly armor left now, and most of the armor is currently Stugosaurus's and his Panther Company, it would seem. Bunker almost down, but somehow the gunner's still alive. He is much bleeding at this point. Fahu on the other hand is much more struggling. He should, well, maybe spam this Volksgrenadiers and, well, other units. And a part of me definitely also saying maybe consider Panther, but he might play for another Jagdtiger. Dichter still flooding out resources. He should at least consider more fuel caches. The front line is very empty there for the Germans. The amount of artillery has really done a lot of damage there. Another K1 there running for Insaniedi. I do believe the Axis are fighting even to the end of the war. Another surprisingly used heavy tank by the Serbs, actually the Churchill tank, which they received a bunch of. So that was also a bit of fun facts there.
We are losing a sector.
Not something maybe usually known. Air recons again. The Soviets make good use of air recons as well as spot out targets and the likes. Shock troops here with the Panzer. Oh, they got wiped out. And the Sturmpanzer quickly rushes in, but Stugosaurus is shot on infantry. Panzer Grenadiers with maybe some light machine guns might prove helpful. Or he might be saving up for another Panther. He's almost got the resources of that. 3 Panthers could maybe turn things around more fully in a sweeping counterattack. In particular, if then support with Stuka close air support, that could maybe crush the Soviet armoured might here with the Guards' mechanized corps. Alright, so you're firing. Sturmpanzer forming in. Panther arriving as well. K1's a bit of trouble. Insaniedi might want to consider actually a mechanized armor compagnia to consider some H-85 support with some tank shows that way, but oh well. And there again, another strike here from the Luftwaffe. Kanonenvogel unleashes its 37mm cannons, doing a bit of damage there to the KV-1s. So Luftwaffe strikes back with another Sturmpanzer on the way for Stugosaurus. Very rare you see two Sturmpanzer 4s in a fight. This is definitely not a usual 2 versus 2. Back to Insaniedi though. Infantry getting plastered with high explosive shots. Panther moving in here, taking advantage of the chaos of the Stugosaurus. Good, good. You should probably get the other Panther ready as well as soon as possible. Sturmpanzer 4 moving in. Panther here, taking shots off as well. Getting buttoned though. Infantry there, almost shattered into a million pieces there by the Sturmpanzer 4. Damage engine. Panther blitz out, the K1's moving ahead. Another strike there, and the Stugosaurus gets it, I think. The Stugosaurus gets the ISU. Another one though has arrived here from Dichter. He gets a lot of them, but again, he still floats a lot of manpower. Really need to do something with it, spread it out. And again, more fuel caster could also help his teammate, although Insaniedi on the hand is floating a ton of fuel. What a strange world. More shock tubes on the way there. He should definitely consider arm, and again, I think tank destroyers might have helped a bit as well. Might help. Anyways, veterans who Panther moving forward to the front line. There you go, the second Sturmpanzer 4, but it's not really moving. Another B4 shot. Rather ruthless. But not having as much luck as there's the first one. And I think Fahu might be saving up for another Jagdtiger. Though again, I mean, he is rather wasting a lot of time and resources on that to a certain extent, it feels like. Oh well. Sturmpanzer 4, Stugosaurus, victory points not looking good here for either side. Action sort of returning to the right side, but I mean, it's all been to note here in this fight. I mean, it tends to sort of get much more around spot, but here the action has sort of been flowing back and forth across the battlefield to a certain extent, and not just got utterly focused in one point, which I at least personally find a bit boring as well. Tons of mines again. I mean, there's really been laid a lot of mines down here by the Russians, which is not bad comparatively to the Germans. There's not really been any. Sturmpanzer, we might get there to 2 Panther moving forwards there. Vorwärts. Oh, there we go. Shock troopers, well, got a big shot as they got shot to death. Veteran 2 there with Schürzen for the Sturmpanzer 4. And there we go, another Jagdtiger. Sturmpanzers advance, and one of them is just getting shot with everything the Russians have. Field gun there almost wiped out by the veteran T4 Sturmpanzer. Panther gets a few good shots there as well. The wrecked ship basically protecting it from the ISU 152. Shield Jury, it is our greatest obstacle, a small wooden ship. And now the Jagdtiger immediately gets dazed. But gets off a good hit there versus the ISU. Flank is open again. The lack of numbers here for the Russians are certainly beginning to run a bit against them as well. And again, the floating of Dichter. Panzerschreck there. And the ISU gets knocked out. K1 doing what they can here, but they're struggling. Not really meant for fighting Panthers, and essentially Insaniedi never really seemed to think, you know, that could be necessary. Maybe being a bit too reliant on his teammate to fight sort of the heavier punches versus armor. But as we noticed, it might have proved to be a bit of a slightly flawed partnership there. 1K1 there about to go down.
The enemy has destroyed one of our vehicles.
Stugosaurus proving to be ever lethal. Jagdtiger though falls back without reaching much. I mean, considering how much Fahu's invested into these two Jagdtigers, he's not really gotten much out of his investment compared to how much Stugosaurus got out of his Panthers. And his Sturmpanzers. So certainly can't help but feel that Fahu might have benefited more from a Schwerpanzer headquarters in a better position, and Panthers and maybe a Sturmtiger.
Anti-tank gun is ready for action.
Field gun cleared out there by the might of the Sturmpanzer. Field gun wrecked, more air recons. There's still the B4 though. Interesting enough, I mean, again, with all the infantry, he's never really used for Mother Russia either, which is also a great ability to use during assaults. That guy, you know, he's been using interesting abilities somewhat, but he's not really used one, I think, one of the more underestimated abilities of counter-attack, which is for Mother Russia. Over to Dichter, still floating. Really should do something about it. I think he might something a bit in case they have tunnel vision on the ISU-152. So he's at least got another fuel cache there, which, I mean, is something. We should definitely consider getting more infantry out in the field as well. And maybe, you know, something else. He's a bit too limited at the moment. Field gun recruit.
The enemy forces are capturing our supplies.
Germans are beginning to run out of the victory points. They need to strike forwards further. In particular, considering now the Russians don't really have much to sort of withstand the Panthers and the Sturmpanzers. I mean, if Stugosaurus was to make one really good assault run now, he could probably clear out a large part of the map. Considering the unit composition, while in some regards strong from both the Russians, they also had some weaknesses. And they're beginning to become more apparent now at this stage of the fight here. Jagdtiger continues to, well, get dazed. Artillery barrage going down there. K1 in about a bit of trouble there. Field gun cleared out. Panthers advancing. K1 knocked out here by two mighty Panthers. One of them closing in on veteran to flee quite quickly. But the Russians line up finally sort of really starting to crumble. But interesting enough, the Germans are moving ahead very cautiously, not really blitzing ahead. Which could in theory result in the Russians gaining perhaps a bit of ground or stabilising situation. Though so far, again, the way Dichter is floating resources, it's not really looking likely. I mean, my God. What is wrong with him? There's no reason to continue to float that much manpower. There's no logic to it. And the surprising thing is, you know, he's been able to actually do a lot of damage and hold up the Germans for so long, despite floating all of those resources after time. But another ISU-152. I don't think I've ever seen that many ISUs in the 1-2 versus 2, to be honest. At least not from one player. And what are we looking at? The fourth one?
We are losing territory.
More artillery. The German advance is relentless. Two veterans who flee snipers by the way of Insaniedi.
The enemy has silenced one of our anti-tank guns.
Panthers looks like they might have spotted a nice target. Sturmpanther 4 continues ahead. A ton of rockets unleashed in one spawn spot. Panzer is only getting back to the ISU.
Guards troops ready for action.
No survivors.
Tanks are now available to wreak havoc on enemy fortifications.
Looks like Fahu is left to deal with the ISU with his Dichter. Fighting though seems to sort of slowly be losing most of its, well, wind. And now Fahu's actually getting a Puma all of a sudden. Seems a bit like a late addition, if anything. More guards infantry. It looks like Dichter is just now throwing guards infantry at the enemy, maybe realizing at this point, you know, maybe he shouldn't be floating that much. Took him long enough. Now the assault seems to be relentlessly going on the left flank, though the Panthers could be doing a bit more. Sturmpanzer force still clearing out the remaining infantry positions here, basically field guns and the likes. There's no real armour stopping the Sturmpanzers. So in that regard, there's not really much to sort of hold him back. Field gun there shooting up. Engineers awfully close. ISU shoots. Dichter rolling ahead. Oh, Patrick there from the Guards Infantry. Looks like another drop there. And buttoning up. Bombing strike going off there. He might want to target a bit further behind it. I think he might try directly on. Oh, dazed though. Still misses though. And they're fighting on there with the Sturmpanzer in support, while Fahu's breaking up the right flank, which is now being tenaciously held by a single guard squad. But even that's failing. Puma moving about here. Getting hit there with a Panther strike. Grenades exchanged there. Ow, the Guards Infantry might go down there. Albeit barely. We're just seeing equipment there getting utterly wrecked. A murderous skirmish at this point. The Russians are still biting back madly. But the question is, how long can they resist, because there's not really much happening further than. In particular, it seems like Insaniedi has very little to offer. He's not throwing any more armor. He's not got any tanks or anything, so he's rather limited. Looks like one Panther went down. And the most veteran one, a tragic loss there. Looks like the Kanonenvogel is ready to once more fly across. We see here a hurried counterattack here, but Dichter flanks in. And I think the ISU is within range there of the Kanonenvogel. There we go. In fact, takes quite a bit of health off the ISU 152 by shooting at the rear. Good job. And now Fahu's just getting a ton of Pumas. I think that might rather tell us how he feels like this fight is going to end up. Not in a Russian victory. I don't think there'd be any reason to get that many Pumas. And there we go, the Kanonenvogel scores another victory for the Reich. A bit of an ace there from the Luftwaffe. Tons of Guards Infantry now making the way. I mean, now he's sort of getting into the fight there, but it's rather feels like it's too little too late there from Dichter, and he was too slow in reacting and properly supporting.
Ready for action. Let's go.
Looking at damage, we note here that Fahu and Stugosaurus. There's actually a bit of a discrepancy again. Stugosaurus are the ones that done best here. Dichter, the one from the Russians, but also note though, more damage, but not a lot of kills. Again, the way Someone filling up resources rather limited from doing a lot of damage. Insaniedi's been doing most of the killing. In fact, out of all 4 armies in power, also all the snipers. So that's interesting to note there. Fahu again, the one with the 2 Jagdtigers was the one that sort of did the least amount of damage. So I mean, that's a bad thing to keep in mind about the Jagdtiger. It's not necessarily the most effective thing on most maps. And certainly not, I think, on an open map like this. It's a little thing there to keep in mind. But as we Stugosaurus, I mean, we can understand that. I mean, he made some great flanks, some great attacks, good use of tactical movement, good use of armor, good use of abilities. I mean, overall, I think he used every single ability in his doctrine. Great job there. Fahu, on the other hand, well, less so. A bit of assault artillery, some panzerfuzils. Jagdtiger had no officer or breakthrough tactics. No, it's just a bit of explanation there. Just sort of cut off the time for once this is over. But overall, I mean, this fight is over. There's not really much left here. This is just basically mopping up, although victory point is still close, and that's probably why the Russians are still in it. They might still be able to turn things around, so they feel, but again, resource limit. And Dichter, despite the severity of the situation, is still floating so much manpower. He must be confident he can get a single more eye issue out in the field to maybe turn things around. Absolutely incredible. A B4 there seems to have done a bit. They're knocking out one Puma. Looks like the Panthers are moving in. Mine went off there on the Panther. But I suspect he might try for another artillery strike like the previous one. And there we go, leichtes Infanteriegeschütz. Center victory pointing to finding about right in front of Sturmpanzer with a sniper. Victory point over there was being taken. The Russians are just throwing almost everything there. But again, Dichter, for some reason, Dichter has some kind of plan in mind, which I don't really think works. And there we go, we're seeing breakthrough artillery going down here. There you go, GG, well played from Insaniedi. GG from Dichter Hund. And game over, an absolutely crazy 2 versus 2. The Russians looked dominant for a longer part of time, but again, partly due to again Dichter just floating so many resources. What was he thinking? But also, you know, in part, I mean, if you looked at the unit composition to a certain extent, I mean, all the sort of, you know, damage into the tanks was on Dichter's side, whereas while his teammate Insaniedi was good at killing infantry, on the other hand, lacked some anti-armor capabilities, which overall made them easy once they were separated to deal with. And that's rather what happened. Stugosaurus, to a certain extent, just dealt with them one at a time. I mean, Fahu, while also doing a lot of damage, was much more limited again, due to just spamming a few units all the time, and again, saving so many resources for the Jagdtigers, which were so easily contained by the eyes using other things. I mean, I still don't really think the Jagdtiger is good, at least not on a lot of maps. I mean, on open maps, it tends to sort of very quickly drop in utility. I mean, that's something to consider there. I think had Fahu gone for Panthers or the King Tiger, I think they had a much better chance of closing this match off early. At the same time, I had the Russians spend a bit more, you know, had Insaniedi, you know, spent some of his fuel on tank destroyers. I think the Russians could have done much better as well. Instead, again, it was much more separate affairs. Once one was sort of slightly broken down, they could be rushed out of the field, crashed, and then the other player isolated and crushed as well. It was to a certain extent divide and conquer, although much more bloody and horrifying. Also, I mean, I really want to compliment Stugosaurus for good use of his doctrine, a one rarely used, full use of abilities, tactical movement, ambush, give air 43s, Stuka close air support. I mean, how often do you see that? Not very often, so that was amazing to see. Great stuff there. Overall, very, very interesting fight. I mean, also, again, it wasn't just, you know, one meat grinder. It saw maneuvering, flanking, harassment, great stuff. Really an excellent 2 versus 2. So, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. If you did, why not subscribe, tell your friends, share it with everyone. If not, you know, send in a replay on. If you do, though, do provide some details and such, and also link to the leaderboards, or, you know, provide feedback in the comments. Or if you'd like to support the Propagandacast, consider either disabling ad block, or, you know, sending in donations via PayPal. There's a link to that in the channel description. Every donation is most accepted and most welcome. So, thank you all for watching, and see you tomorrow. Bye.